Thank you so much, Tony. Without wasting any more minutes, I would love to talk briefly about Afro delegates, and just a second. Yes, like I said earlier, Afro delegates is headed by Mr. President Ali Waiswa, one of founder and president general so far that we have. Mr. Ali Waiswa is also the global award winner of the Best Strategist Award of UNHCR with many other international model United Nations accolades. He's also the youth ambassador for Squana UN, Real Project for Africa, and also a Global Livingstone Fellow and a Global Enterprise Fellow at UNEDI, and also a director of the TNHCI and Pillars of the Peace Award-winning Rotaract President in Uganda. Also, as the next person with us here, I see Mr. Philippe Lefebvre, Chair of the Institute for Greater Europe, and also a Director of World Model, United Nations Day, MONAS Across Borders, and International Model United Nations Chair. You are all most welcome on board once again, and with that, I would love to welcome Mr. President Ali Waiswa to take us on in this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much Tharman for the welcoming remarks. To everyone that is on this call, it's a pleasure. I'm so happy for the response in regards to our orientation meeting. It really takes a lot for you to spare this time and come and listen to what we have in as far as the prepared package is concerned. You know, weekends are tricky, but we believe our other friends shall join us as time goes on. But nevertheless, we are in a diplomatic world where time should be respected. And to those that have kept time, we are entirely going to deliver what we had prepared for you. Good enough, this orientation shall be recorded for the rest, because life has inconveniences here and there. For the rest to have a copy of it so that we all have the first-hand information. So I'm here to entirely take you through what Afro Delegates Foundation is, its core values, why it was started, and why you have been invited to be part of this orientation meeting. And yes, I'm going to do that through some of the prepared slides that I really sat and compiled to see that we can entirely embrace and see what we had always prepared for you. So I believe my screen is clear, and if it isn't, you always notify me from the chat room to really enable me make some adjustments where need be. Is everyone's screen clear? At Philip, is the screen perfect? Yeah, so I have only 30 minutes and let me utilize them profitably. So the name of the organization is Afro Delegates Foundation. Our motto is to train generational diplomats. And yeah, those are the contact details in terms of the website link, the contact numbers, and the physical address. So why Afro? Afro is to now encompass each and every African youth, whether you're from South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana. The word Afro stands always driven from Africa because we want a foundation that can make us gather together for a common cause and common goal. And Delegates is a product that comes from the program that we use, which is the Model UN system of debate. So people that participate in it are always referred to as delegates, and hence the addition to the word Afro. Then foundation, because we're not only going to run the moon part of it, but we're using it as a model to even run impactful projects, like you shall see. So now to you who is on this call, you can now have a touch of why Afro Delegates Foundation. And who are we as Afro Delegates Foundation? One, by status, we're running a continental organization, though it has started from East Africa, and that's Uganda. It's non-profit, and our major core point of focus is involved in promotion of the Model United Nations diplomatic debates and constructive engagements. And now one would ask, why the Model United Nations? Why constructive debates? We realized that in Africa, be it in East, Central, South, or West, a number of youths are facing a number of challenges that has held them from attaining their full potential of productivity. And the biggest among that is the negative mindset from research that has made us to involve and indulge in very many other criminalities. It has yielded the teenage pregnancies. It has yielded us engaging in drug abuse. It has also yielded gender-based violence, stigma and discrimination, intolerance, violence, and all that. But then that, on the other side, hinders and deters our full productivity, and thus deters us from attaining our needed heights in terms of productivity. Now, as the founder and a youth, I couldn't look at it after discovering the secret that was in this Model UN program, because it can enable us change our mindset. It can enable us become self-reliant. It can enable us become agents of change. And that's the reason why we started up Afro Delegates Foundation. So we are a youth transformational movement. That's why when you to see the people that are on this call, they are all youths. We are focusing on fostering constructive conversion for open dialogue on national, regional, and global issues that are affecting this world. So that is entirely who we are. I believe you who is on this call, I, Philip, Tony, Birunji, we can be the change that we are seeking for. So that made us to drive the team to come up with that vision and mission. And our vision is very clear and straightforward. We want to see a vibrant, we want to see a durable and sustainable quality organization affecting positive transformation in Africa's young generation. Statistically, you all know it, that Africa now has the highest number of young people. But how can we turn them into productivity? Because I believe it is the biggest asset. It is the biggest mineral that we have. And if we align it to the vision, then it entirely enables us to transform them into productivity. Then our mission is to nurture a network of youth intellectuals, of course, through social and leadership skilling, but based on United Nations practices. And why the UN? Because it advocates for respect for diversity, it advocates for integrity, it advocates for professionalism, it advocates for innovativeness, and those also serve as some of our core values. We believe if we can simulate, if we can get attached, if we can revolutionize that system, then we can be the change that this world is looking for. And that drives me to our focus as Afro Delegates Foundation. Now, our focus, there are only 3 major pillars in terms of what we focus on. The first one is diligence. Then the second one is self-help. And the third one is cooperation. So we believe that if you who is in South Africa, if you who is in Ghana, if you who is in Kenya, Tanzania, Algeria, Morocco, if we can come together and effectively simulate the model United Nations systems of debate, we can at the end of the day build 3 things, and that is diligence amongst us, self-help amongst us, and cooperation. Why diligence? In Africa, we are so locked in a certain box. We are not thinking, we are not analyzing, and yet we are creative. It is within us. But through that model, we can untap and unmask your creativity and hence achieve diligence. Then why self-help? In Africa, as the young people, we are so dependent. And that touched me. That touched the founders. We take long to become independent. You 24 years, you 25 years, you 26 years, but you're still living with your parents. They're providing you with food. They're providing you with clothes. They're providing you with the A to Z of the basic needs. And someone in Europe is at 16 years. Someone in US is at 15 years, and he's having a working permit. He's working, having a driving permit as he studies. And that is independence responsibility that we want to impart to the young people in Africa so that they achieve the self-help pillar amongst them. Then cooperation. We want to come together as young people and share ideas, debate, discuss, negotiate, develop projects that can solve challenges, not only in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Botswana, Nigeria, because you can't underestimate the power of productivity when you come together as one force. Because we have the advantage of the demographic profile. 60%, according to all Africa statistics, are young people in Africa. Take a sample to Uganda, over 77% are young people below the age of 30. If we can come together, we can yield productivity in the various challenges that affect us. Now, to you who is on this call, you also ask yourself, what do you entirely do as Afro Delegates Foundation? It is quite a simple question because we combine the first pillar of our approach is convening as young people to engage in constructive debates based on United Nations model. Then after convening, if I get delegates from South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Mali, Botswana, and they convene, they then later debate the critical issues that affect them in relation to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So after the discussions and debates, we resolve. I sit with someone from Kenya and we resolve issues of climate change. I sit with someone from Nigeria and I resolve issues on poor health structures. I sit with someone from Botswana and we resolve issues on how we can handle and mitigate the effects of the pandemic. And then after that, we take action. We don't just leave our resolutions there, but we further develop projects And that's why if you have viewed the website, there are different programs that we pass through to implement these projects. And we further train you, so that shouldn't be your worry. We further train you and mentor you in diplomacy and entrepreneurship, which is the way to go in this 21st century era. And above all, we recognize and award the achievements of you who is on this call, and later those strategic partners and sponsors that are behind whatever we are advocating for. Now, in Moon summits, there are always parade of nations. We converge, you can see, I'm giving you a picture of what happens. We converge from different countries and discuss. At the end of the day, come up with resolutions. Then when we return to our home countries, we transform those resolutions into projects, and that is employment creation. That is becoming self-reliant and independent. That is opening up your minds. And that's what we do as Afro Delegates Foundation. And how do we work? Our structure is a bit unique. It is a bit systematic. It is very sustainable because we start from the grassroots, which are the Afro Model United Nations clubs that are established in schools and communities. Then those established Afro Moon clubs form the Afro Moon branch chapters. Now, a branch Moon chapter can have 12 clubs within it. So you might be here from the University of Kenyatta. It can set up 12 or beyond 12 clubs, which are Moon-oriented, and that can form the Afro Moon branch chapter. So we can have Afro Moon branch chapters of Makerere University, of Kenyatta University, of University of Cape Town, and that is the structure that we follow. Then the Afro Moon branch chapters form the country chapters of Afro Delegates. And that's why here we are building the Ugandan country chapter. Once we launch Kigali with the Pan Moon, we shall also build the Afro Delegates country chapter of Kigali, Afro Delegates country chapter of Kenya, Afro Delegates country chapter of Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. And we can't do that without you. And it is one reason as to why we called you to orient you, and we become part, or you all become part of this initiative. And what I love most now, besides the chapters, the branch chapters and the Moon clubs, is that our membership is infused into 37 system thinking hubs. 37 system thinking hubs. WHO, UNICEF, UNEP, IMF, we formulated system thinking hubs because we realized there was a gap. And where is that gap? In Africa, we are so much experiencing a population tsunami of over 70% of sub-Saharan African youths being under the age of 30. That is according to the UN. And this young population, or these young people, are experiencing several challenges, ranging from extreme poverty, civil conflict, threats of climate change. It has been evidenced. If you read BBC, if you revise CNN, climate change, they've just concluded the COP26 summit. Because of climate change, the poor education, lack of employment, because of the inadequate system thinking approaches. And as Afro Delegates Foundation, we are here to offer that platform through the UNDP System Thinking Hub, the UN Habitat System Thinking Hub, the UNICEF, the WFP system thinking hubs, where someone from Kenya can get attached to UNEP and thinks, analyzes, and comes up with a project that is entrepreneurship oriented to solve climate change, but as he creates employment opportunities for others. Some youths from South Africa can sit under the WHO system thinking hub, analyze, and come up with a big project that can be implemented continental-wise. And you can't imagine how many jobs he shall have created. And the ideas are within us that are on this call. The ideas are within us that are here listening to me. Those that are in universities, those that are in various institutions, the different young people. But we are here to see that we offer you that platform so that you think. Then we develop your ideas into projects that can yield millions and millions of employment opportunities. And when you look at our leadership structure, as I summarize, it is that simple, but in a continental way, because we are building a global organization. And that's why we want you to be part of us. We would love you to grow with us. It has the General Assembly, which is the topmost decision-making body. But for the young people, it has the International Board of Directors. It has, from the Afro clubs, they give birth to the chapter branches. The chapter branches give birth to the country chapters. Country chapters now directly link to the International Board of Directors, who are selected, who are voted by the General Assembly. And through that, diplomacy, democracy shall be imparted in us as African young people. It has the technical advisor, it has the advisory board, everything plus institutions that we run. And to break it down, because it's you to serve in these positions, we gave birth to this idea, but then it is yours, it is not mine. It is not for Philip, neither for Thaman. We gave birth to this idea for you to come and we grow together and we serve together. So according to Article 8 of our Constitution, it stipulates our organization structure in 7 different ways, where we have the General Assembly, the International Board of Directors, the Advisory Board, the Executive Committee, or the International Secretariat, then the Country Chapter Board, the Chapter Branch Board, and then the Club Board. All those different structures are for you to serve in, and that's why we've called you here, because they all have different positions. Take an example of the International Board of Directors. It shall be the International Board of Directors, and it will be elected, it will be always elected by the General Assembly every after 5 years. So everyone has a chance here to serve on the International Board of Directors, because it is not Ali that decides, neither Matov Tony, neither Philip, but it is the General Assembly that says, no, Ali, you've served for this phase, and we feel we need someone from South Africa. And diplomatically, I'll give him space to serve as the President General, to serve as the Deputy President General, the Honorary Secretary General, the Honorary Head of Delegates, Treasurer, Advisor, Publicity Secretary, Administrator, Sergeant at Arms, name it. So that thing should be embraced. We need to use it. Take an example of the Advisory Board. The system is there. We are following articles. We are following the law and democracy. We are letting democracy take its lead. So the I-Board appoints members on the advisory board. And it has the minimum and all that. But because of time, I won't really take you through all that. Look at the executive committee and the secretariat. It would be headed, and is always headed by the CEO, the deputy CEO, the financial controller, director programs and public relations, and all that. So we have a system, and all those positions, all these opportunities are for you, the Africans from Ghana, from Uganda, from Kenya, from Tanzania. And it's one reason as to why we called you here, to show you and see whether you can pick interest. Now go to the country chapter branch. So on this call, you might be the country chapter president of Ghana. I might be talking to the country chapter president of Kenya on this call. I might be talking to the next country chapter president of South Africa, of Nigeria, because the structure is there. Talk about the deputy, the secretary, head of delegates, treasurer. So you have a chance in Afro Delegates Foundation to serve at any level by our leadership structure. The same to the chapter branch board, which is the CBB, backed up by the Constitution. And all those positions are for you to serve in if you get interested in what we really deal in for the cause that we are advocating for. Even the Chapter Moon Club president is recognized in universities, in high schools, in primary schools, because we are building a system from grassroots to top. And with such a leadership structure, we convene and make it become sustainable using some of our flagship conferences and events, like the Rio Rotaract Moon Convention, the Pan Moon Summit, the Africa We Want Convention, the I-Moon Convention, the National Model United Nations Conference. So to people that are here and you love traveling, please prepare your passports. If you are here and you love sharing ideas, please, we need you and we are looking for you. If you're here and you would love to know the UN and you never know where it can take you, I believe you are the next country representatives of FAO, of UNICEF, of WHO, of your different countries, and the journey starts now. So Rio Rotaract Moon, we shall be in Cairo, Egypt, and launch it out. Pan-African Moon, we're gonna launch it in Uganda. Africa We Want, we are traveling to Kigali. I-Moon Convention, we shall visit Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And very many, we shall rotate. Accra, Ghana, will host the second edition of the Pan Moon. So we need to rotate in all the 54 countries of Africa. And each summit launches a country chapter. Each summit initiates a country chapter. So we need you so that we enjoy and grow together for a very impactful cause. And of course, we have partners, some of the partners that we're working for, like the International Center for International Process Center for Sustainable Development in UK is in support of this initiative. The African Council of Small Businesses is also in support of this initiative. The government of Uganda, I want to see a log of partners from Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Nigeria, Ethiopia, because we are coming. We are developing, we are building it. And you might be the person to initiate it. And that's why we've called you here to listen to that. This is the leadership and governance of the International Board of Directors. I serve as the President General. I'm not sure if after this time I'll come back because I have to give space to some of you on this call to take on the lead per our constitution and the decision of the General Assembly. Because of time, I work with such a team, and you have read their names, you've read some of their titles, and we normally do that through the extra general Assembly. We have the advisory board that consists of Ms. Teopista Birungi Mayanja. She sits on the Education International Commission for Funding Global Opportunities for Young People that are now listening to me right now, my fellow young people. Then Mr. Niwo Samuel, who is the Chief Technical Advisor of Afro Delegates Foundation. He's also the founder of Uganda National Entrepreneurship Institute to the entrepreneurs on this call. We also advised by Mina Vasovic. Mina Vasovic sits on the Rotary UN Committee, and we want to see that the two are advocating for this. That's the UN and Rotary International. Then the Minister for East African Affairs and the First Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda, that is Rebecca, is also one of our advisors. Philip, who is going to talk to you next, whom I'm so much proud of, and he can't wait to see that all this comes to the success. He's also one of our advisors. Anna also, and Fiona Nyamtoro plus Shiwali. You see that most of them are young people, and that's why we are a youth transformation movement. You can also join the advisory board, depending on which expertise you can put on table. Now, the upcoming Pan-Africa Moon Summit. We are converging over 2,500 delegates across the globe. 26th to 30th April, to allow us have enough time for you to register, for us to prepare for you, to bring experts from UN and share with you. And we are going to use that summit to track Africa's progress in as far as achievement of sustainable development goals are concerned. We are even looking at inviting the high-level UN officials for this summit, like the SG, and I believe he can come. The President, African Union, he can come. Why not come and talk to the young people? And various world leaders that we might pick a leaf from as young people. The venue is Commonwealth Resort, Munyonyo, and details are showcased on the website. So that is Afro Delegates Foundation. We believe if we work with you, we believe if you join us, we can make this vision very successful in a very short period of time. And with that said, I give it back to the host to really lead us through the other items on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for the wonderful recap about Afro Delegates Foundation. And I've seen good questions coming in, and some have been answered by Mr. Philip. Without further ado, I would love to welcome Mr. Philip to take us through about United Nations model. And from that, we shall take on the questions after Mr. Phil. Thank you. You're welcome, Mr. Phil.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I will start presenting now, and then I'll go through MUN, the fundamentals. Oh, I cannot screen share. Can the host please allow screen sharing?
I've done so.
Perfectly. It is done. Great. So I'll be going over a little bit of the fundamentals of Model United Nations. This will go through a history of MUN, the basis about what it is, institutions, conferences, and ending very much on what does MUN do for you. Model United Nations is something that Ali has talked about quite a lot, and I was very proud to meet Ali at an MUN in, of all places, Nepal. That's where I believe we first met 3 years ago now, and 4 years ago. I've honestly forgotten. So very, very happy to bring him in here. To start with a little bit about myself. So my name is Philippe Lefebvre. I'm a British-French national, and I am an obsessive MUNer, as the term is called. My main role in MUN now derives from World Model UN Day, Mothers Across Borders, and that is one of the first and major NGOs really taking a step back from MUN to discuss more about what we can do to support MUN and MUNers. And what we want to do is to create a single day for all MUNers across the world to celebrate what it means to do MUN and to really grow the youth participation in the United Nations system. That's a big part of what we want to do. And I'd be very happy to have Afro Delegates Foundation along with this journey for quite a while now. I've worked with several of quite large MUN associations across Europe and beyond, mostly in York, Sorbonne, Munich, Leuven, and around. And I've participated now in 50 conferences. And in fact, I've retired from doing conferences now, but I will make an exception to come to Uganda to see you all when the next conference happens. I've been Secretary General of 2 major conferences in Europe, and I've been an organizer of quite a few more. And one could say that I'm an addict of MUN, and I really believe about what it does to people. And I'm very happy to tell you all today a bit more about that. But to start a bit with the history, MUN has been going for a very long time. Now, the very first model United Nations was actually before the real United Nations was founded. It was in March 1943, and March is when we want World Model UN Day to be. And this was a representation of the UN based on the declaration by the United Nations signed in January 1942. As you may know, eventually after World War II, this was signed by about 50 nations of the San Francisco Treaty and then became the United Nations as we know it today. But before that, it was still a part of learning about MUN and learning about what the United Nations system could be. It was really create debate pressing issues represented by different delegates and also have the youth learn about those different ideals. So that's also a very different and difficult thing to do. There was already a strong basis of League of Nations simulations back in the 1920s, which spread to the US, matured in the US and came back to Europe. And we believe, though we're not entirely sure on the history, the first ever MUN in Africa was in Cairo in 1989. So it is almost 35 years of MUN now in Africa. So it's already been a generation of MUN sustained on the continent. Now, a bit more about what it is. In Model United Nations simulation is at its heart about you representing a nation in a committee, but it's a lot more than that. It's really about developing the soft skills of delegates, learning about the international community, and providing a sociable atmosphere to do so. It is a perfect area of growth for every single person who gets involved in it. And I'll be talking at the end about those specific areas, but there is nothing quite like it. There are very few other sort of things you can do to learn in as many ways as you do through MUN. And I'll be talking a little about sort of how MUN's run, which is also very important, because I'll tell you a little bit about Afro Delegates Foundation and where we're going to go with the organization. But first, statistics. Somebody mentioned, is MUN once a year? Hundreds of MUNs are every year. We have found that over the last 3 years, 163 countries out of the maximum 192 did an MUN. This is huge. It is one of the largest extracurricular activities in the world, and a minimum, and this is a minimum, we think it's well over this, but a minimum is 300,000 people a year. It could be up to 1 million or 2 million a year, but we don't have the statistics for that. But even on these statistics, it's well over 300,000. Hundreds of MUNs happen every single year, split between different types of MUNs. You have high school and university levels, and sometimes also college levels too. MUNs are usually run, and there are usually 2 major institutions in MUN. You have societies, and you have the conferences themselves. Afro Delegates Foundation is a new type, essentially, building off these 2. But fundamentally, you have the local societies, which help train, create socials and have delegates work together. And they usually organize delegations to send to conferences. For example, with the system of Afro Delegates Foundation, there will be many different societies working within the foundation, and each of them might bring together a delegation to send to a conference. For example, to send to Gali or to send to Ghana for conferences, or maybe even to Europe or to the US or wherever in the world. Societies are often non-profit organizations, sometimes supported by United Nations associations, and they usually organize trainings weekly, socials, and are really also a fantastic way to get together and meet new people. The funding, I mean, for most societies is done by fees, but I believe the Delegates Foundation will do this in a rather different way. Conferences are the backbone of Model United Nations. These are often 2 to 4 days long, and they are several committees running at once, simulating what would it be like for a delegate, i.e. in this case, a country, to be in those committees. On average, and this is many conferences talking about 100, they're around 100 to 150 people. The largest are a few thousand. The smallest can be honestly 50 people. And they usually have a range of beginner, intermediate, and expert committees. So beginner committees, for example, are the United Nations Human Rights Council or UNESCO. UNESCO deals with science, education, and the Human Rights Committee deals with human rights. So a conference, as example, I would be representing the country of Italy at a debate in UNESCO about the subject of improving education rights for women and girls. That will be an example of what could be done in the conference. And what you do is debate, and you put together a resolution that you would like to see pass that committee. And the resolution essentially then becomes the policy of the United Nations and theoretically the world. Now, we're only simulating this, but very often we also send these to real delegates, real ambassadors, to try and have some important influence on world affairs. They often have very key figures working with them, as we've discussed. I mean, the United Nations Secretary General is supporting them. And if you go to our website, worldmodelUNA.com, you'll see he wrote us a letter for our very own conference and event. And we're also going to be having a major event at the United Nations next year to represent World UN Day. Conferences have quite a few things. This presentation was made originally for people who were thinking of organizing a conference, so don't read too much into it. But there is a lot involved in them. And this really also speaks to not only for those interested in organizing them, but for those who might want to go to them, there are quite a few things to keep in mind. I won't go into details on this because it's not incredibly important for what we're talking about here. But there is a range and they can really vary. Sometimes we have more academic sides to the conference where we discuss the topics, where we have people to discuss about what MUN should be debating. And many other times we have the sort of social aspects, which is also a fantastic way to explore the city you're in. And that's one thing that MUN is very, very fun about. Being a delegate is about 4 main things, I would say. And this is something that everyone here, if they ever do an MUN, and this is what Ali found when he was a delegate, and what I found as well in my conferences, there is firstly debating. A lot of MUN is about debating the topic as represented your country. Now, this can be difficult because you are not representing your personal beliefs. You are representing the country you are there to stand for. So, for example, being Italy in UNESCO, I would have to research about Italy's foreign policy, Italy's relationship with education, Italy's will, and this can be quite difficult. So you have to do a lot of research, and then you, of course, have to learn how to debate. And debating is a difficult thing, but it does get easy once you've done it quite a bit. And it can be quite a fascinating time to really learn and work with other people for the betterment of the conference itself. Drafting, you have to draft a resolution, and resolutions can often be simple affairs, a couple of pages long, or they can be quite long policy documents. Now, these policy documents usually deal with a range of different affairs relating to the topic. So again, if we talk about education for women and children, in a resolution talking about that, we might discuss about curriculum. We might discuss about accessibility. We might discuss about funding. And these are all different things that will go onto a resolution that have to be written in a very specific UN formatted way. Now, these are very valuable, I can tell you, because when you work in professional affairs, you'll always have to have a particular way of drafting, and you have to think of the stakeholders who are engaged in it. And so the drafting is a big part of being a delegate. Negotiating, it's not enough just to speak and write. You have to negotiate about what it is the committee should do and what it is that we as a whole should get into. So, for example, you might think about a funding aspect one way, but another delegate, let's say the delegate of Mongolia, might say, no, we want it this way. And you have to find middle ground. Now, I don't even have to tell you how valuable this is. This is a critical function of human society, is negotiation. We are not humans if we don't negotiate. Otherwise, we're just animals who batter each other without actually getting anywhere ourselves. So negotiation is a big part of being a delegate, and learning through it is really, really exciting. Lastly, having fun. We are mostly in MUN young professionals or even students. And that's very important because MUN comes at a very formative time. I would not be the same person I am without Model United Nations. And I honestly believe that having fun, socializing, meeting people with different backgrounds is a very valuable part of MUN. I have met people through MUN, such as Ali, who I will be friends with for a very long time to come. And without MUN, I would not know them. And I honestly believe that that's a very valuable part of it, because you meet people from very different backgrounds all the time. So that's what it's like being a delegate. And you don't just be a delegate for those 3 days of a conference. You're a delegate all year round. You might also graduate from being a delegate to being a chair, which is what I've done many times, which is where you run a committee, or even to being an organizer. And that, I believe, is the next section here. Being an organizer is quite a different experience. Here is the organizing team for one of my biggest conferences, which was in Munich in Germany, one of the largest conferences in Germany, which is also a very big country for MUN. Now, as an organizer, there are many different roles. It's a little different from how you set up the foundation, but organizing a conference is also quite a lot about, for example, booking rooms, finding chairs, running applications, and there's a big amount of it that really comes into play here. You have to stay very active, and the real importance is being selfless. You are here to improve the delegate's experience. It's not about yourself, it's about others. And that is a very valuable part of MUN as well. It really takes you out of your head of just an individual to really looking at how you can improve the experience and the well-being of others. That's what being an organizer is like. I don't have many other things. So the last page I have here, because I want to open up as many times as I can for questions, is what does MUN do for you? There are so many things MUN does for you, but I want to focus on just 5. Firstly, debating skills. Some people might think debating is just about being in parliament, or it's just about negotiating on the street, but we debate every day for different things in our life. Talking to your friends is a form of debating, learning about them, hearing them more, trying to work. In the workspace, you debate every single day, try and figure out, how to proceed your work, how to do things better. And I really feel that debating is so vital because it really infringes on every part of communication. It's really, I could put communication skills for that matter there and it would have worked just as well. Socializing and networking. Socializing and networking is difficult and it is a skill and it is something that is not always very easy to do, but we continue to do it. And MUN is a great way as a young professional to learn how to meet people, how to socialize, and how to do it from different cultures as well. Ali very, very rightfully focused on the different cultures in Africa. A huge amount of people, over billions of people on the continent. There's no doubt that that's a struggle in itself, but globally, it's very different. If I meet someone from Japan, they have a very different social experience. And learning how to deal with that is a very valuable part of MUN that you will never really get elsewhere unless you're already in the career, which is quite difficult to do. Expanding your academia, so expanding your mind to figure out how these things work further. I have learned about so many different things that have helped me in my life. Digital human rights, for example. Another one would be nuclear non-proliferation. Another one would be education in Africa. You know, there's a huge amount of things that MUN has taught me that I'm just so proud to have learned, and it really brings brand new aspects to your mind. Brings volunteering. This does take time, but it is time that is so well spent. What I like to think about, and this is an anecdote, is when you jump, you actually move the planet down a tiny, tiny, tiny amount, a micrometer, unmeasurable, but it does move. And when you do MUN and when you volunteer, you actually help people's lives, even in tiny, tiny, tiny amounts, but it is measurable and it does improve the lives of others. And that's why I feel MUN has really helped a lot with me. And that's why I take my time every day to really try and support MUN. And last, of course, is travel. It's very exciting to travel. I don't think any of us here says, no, I don't like traveling. It's horrible to go to new places. It is actually incredible. It's lovely. And I'm really so happy to have been to Nepal, meet Ali, been so happy to go to Malaysia, to go to the US, to go to Egypt. And I hope to be in Uganda next year for the first conference there. So, MUN has a lot of things to it. Thank you very much for listening. I'd also be interested to hear about any of your questions. My telephone is there at the bottom. If you need to WhatsApp me, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, the website is wrong. It's actually worldmodelunday.com, worldmunday.com, but please do check us out. So I'll leave this up for now. Are there any questions maybe about MUN or what MUN is? Feel free to either put it in the chat or just ask away directly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Phil, for that formative session. And I hope everyone is now having an idea of what MUN is and what needs to be done, where it needs to be, and what needs to be done for me to enter all the prerequisites for being a MUN fellow. So without further ado, I would love to open time for those with questions. So far, Rachel asked whether the MUN happens every year, of which Mr. Philip has asked that there are thousands of them that happen every year or per year. So Rachel, I think your question has been answered very well. And also Rachel was asking whether is it Afro delegates you're referring to, or the MUN having disability leadership positions for you? I believe that will be answered by Mr. President Ali Waiswa concerning the disability positioning in Afro delegates. Then other questions can come in from Mr. Philip as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you, our host, to the members that have listened to us. For special groups, for special groups, we do per the UN structure, we do recognize and embrace each and everyone, and therefore we have positions for special people with disabilities. So it is a collective organization because the abilities within you, not your disability. So we welcome each and everyone. And if you to look at the website, there are positions of special groups. When you look at the structure is stipulated, there is on each cadre or on each phase, be it the MUN club level, branch level, there was a position for special group person. So we do recognize that because we are simulating the UN system. And besides that, we are all one and everyone has an idea irrespective of whether he or she is disabled or not. Yeah, I hope I've answered that.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. President. Any other question for Mr. Phil and Mr. Ali? Please do, you can text or come in and ask something.
Mr. The host, I think I can assure them how our membership is as we answer questions from the chat as well, so that we close this meeting in time. Yeah, people are now asking who is a member, and that switches me to the closing remarks of this presentation, which is showing you our membership policies. And I do hope the screen is clear for everyone. Is it at the host?
I can see it.
Yes, it's clear.
Perfect. So now to answer some of the questions that you might ask, that is our Afro Delegates Foundation membership policies. And I'll start straight away with the membership policies themselves. Kindly, someone who has muted can mute for conduciveness. Mr. Kenyua, we shall give you a chance to ask. Thank you. Yes, one, application for membership is open to any organization or person that supports the purpose of the organization, and continuing membership is contingent upon being updated on the membership dues. So if you saw the vision, the mission, and what we are really advocating for, membership is really open to any organization. It can be a youth organization, you can come as an individual, it can be a corporate organization. So membership is that open. Then two, membership shall be granted upon completion of the membership application. So when you visit our website, there is that link for how to become a member. You fill in all your demographic data because we need your database. And then you send the application that is always reviewed by the membership committee, and feedback is given to you. And then process, you include, application process that includes meeting the membership dues that I'm going also to show you, because that membership dues help us to run very many projects, help us to offer the different services that the organization does do. Then those whose application is terminated can always start the process afresh, and we shall show you reasons why such applications are terminated on the other hand. Then membership is for lifetime. However, leadership positions are reserved for only the youths, and that is, we end at 34, actually at maximum 35 years to serve in our leadership positions. Then the board shall have the authority to establish and define non-voting categories of their membership. Then when you look at the termination paragraph, termination of a member may take effect if one, a member fails to meet the membership dues, then two, when a member no longer wishes to be one or to be a member. Then membership is non-transferable. So once you join as you, then it's you that we recognize in our database, and it's you that we offer the membership certificate and even what accompanies them in terms of the kit. Then a member may be disqualified from membership if one, you give us false information. Let's say you are 40 years and you give us 32 years. If we come to discover that, since it is a youth transformational movement, it can lead to termination of your membership. Then committing criminal offenses that the board deems in regards to which case that you have committed, because we are here for harmony and working together and reducing such cases. Then this is what comes with your membership. That is, if you have joined, there is a membership package, or what you are entitled to as a member. One, you have access to MUN, which is Model United Nations resources, without an additional subscription fee from the organization, because we're working with Philip and very many other Moon advisors that will be offering such resources and are offering such resources. Then you have access to our monthly newsletter. You also have the opportunity to be elected on the Afro Delegates leadership structures that I showed you in my first slides. Then connection to global experts. We normally invite experts in different UN agencies, UNICEF, FAO, WHO, IMF, depending on which course you're pursuing and which passion you have in this world. So we bring such experts that talk to you, and that is another benefit that you are entitled to. So we bring them together and we have those virtual webinars. Then to those that visit countries, we connect them in physical seminars to talk to the young people. Then you will also participate in the organization mentorship programs. We have a series of mentorship programs in entrepreneurship, in leadership and governance, and very many other angles, project writing, research writing. So you become eligible to participate in such mentorship programs. Then the ability to represent this organization in external events. For example, we have delegation invitations for Afro delegates to Brussels, Belgium, to attend the Future We Want Moon Summit that is in December. We also have a delegation invitation for New York City next year, that is USA. We've also been invited to go to China, that is in a city called Shanghai. We also have an invitation for Rome, Italy, and very many other invitations that we receive. So you become considered, and we can always help you to guide you on how you can seek funding in terms of air tickets and the needed logistics under that angle, so that we go to New York together, or we go as Afro Delegates Foundation together, like Philip stipulated it. Then we also support you, by the way, in applying and connecting you to international fellowships and conferences. For example, if you're interested to go with us in New York City next year, in March, we can apply for you and you get the invitation letter. Then we process all what is needed and guide you on how you can get the funding in terms of your country policies and what you have on table. Then the ability to serve on the organization's special interest sections, which Madam Rachel asked about, and organization chapters, then participation in organizations' development programs and projects, and then a certificate of membership, international certificate of what? Of membership. So that's what comes with the membership packages. Now, there are other additional kits that come with your membership, though they are not compulsory. It will depend on you as a person, and that is the membership ID of $5, then Afro Delegates t-shirt of that 6.99 USD. Then we have moon guides that we've prepared for you, that is 1 and 2, to enable you read and understand the UN system, so that it can enable you to, at one time be maybe the President General, because it requires you to have the knowledge of A to Z to run this organization in terms of moon. So those are not mandatory, but we feel you might need them as long as you have subscribed with us in terms of membership. And the membership entry fee is $20 besides that kit. And your membership responsibilities are: 1, you are meant to maintain the accuracy of your information as a member and contact coordinates, then retrieving information at the members' website, such as notices of meetings and briefings. Then you are also required to have active participation in the organization's activities. For example, we are now working left, right to have the Pan Moon Summit in April. So you are eligible, so that we work hand in hand together to see that you be part of that summit. And then monitoring the organization activities and reviewing the annual reports, conveying suggestions and concerns to the board pertaining the operations of the organization, responding to surveys directed to members or Afro Delegates Foundation, encouraging colleagues, because now you are on, you've seen something, and you might have been taken up with what we are advocating for. We also encourage you to talk to your other colleagues who might pick interest in this to join and become involved in the organization activities. Then volunteering to serve as a member of the organization's board, committees, task forces, and teams on regular basis. Then participating in annual general meetings of the organization, for example, the extra general assemblies and other meetings that we hold. And then upholding the good image of the organization and not to disclose privileged information. So membership dues, it is $20. We want inclusiveness. We want everyone to be able to be part of this initiative, because our goal by 2030, we want 54 million members. So if Uganda, we can raise 1 million members of Afro Delegates Foundation, that can be done in Kenya, and it can be replicated in South Sudan, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana, and you can't tell how this shall be in 2025, in 2030, in 2050, because we are trying to bridge and bring the young people of Africa together. Then the annual subscription is $3 to continuously be recognized as a member of Afro Delegates Foundation. Those are the links on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow us and share this to the various people that have not made it on this call. And good enough, we've recorded it to see that it can be shared for others to have a look and listen to what we have shared with you. So that is what entails our membership policies and details. Back to you, our host.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I believe with that, everyone is very much aware of what is going on here and what we need to do to be a member and what membership comes with when you're part of Afro Delegates Foundation, Uganda. So we still welcome questions from those that have questions towards Mr. Phil. Anyone having a concerning matter, burning issue that you believe needs to be heard and answered, please do. Someone is asking in the chat whether do we pay for subscription. That has been talked about by the president. Yes, we do pay for subscription, and that's monthly or you can pay annually. So with that,
at our host, maybe to come in a little, how he's asking how. When you look at our website, it has integrated payment system. You can pay your membership after applying using the membership portal, using the MasterCard, the Visa card, the PayPal account. You can even pay using now to Ugandans, mobile money, Airtel money, but to international now delegates and international members, the various forms of payments are there in the payment link on the website. So it is very well integrated. You can pay using a Visa card, you can pay using a PayPal account, you can pay using a MasterCard, any, because they are all integrated there for you to pay, as long as you've received the feedback from the membership committee following your application as a member. I hope I've clarified that. Any other question? Because yes, we've tried to keep time and we have 6 minutes to 5:30. which was our intended time to, 4 minutes to 5:30, which was our intended time to close this meeting. So let's use the remaining 4 minutes productively in case of any question to either Philip or me. Should we assume that members have entirely digested what Afro Delegates Foundation is all about and our membership policies? Then the upcoming Pan Mun Summit that is there in April, we decided, people have registered, but we decided to adjust it for inclusiveness and many people to come on board. Now, what you need to do is simply one, we are going to share the membership link. We are going to cut it from the website and share it. You need to apply for membership. Give us the details because we are going to shift now members, or we are going to start shifting people that have fully qualified to be members to another group, because once you qualify, you saw all what you are entitled to, and we start right away to deliver that. And the other thing, we are soon going to call for country ambassadors for the Pan Mun Summit of 2023. And to be eligible as well, on the other hand, you should be a member of Afro Delegates Foundation. We're going to call for 54 different country ambassadors for this Pan Mun Summit from 54 African countries. But the first step is apply to become a member, and then from membership, you've seen it is $20. We felt that can be afforded by us looking at the economy, and that membership fee has those benefits that we listed, and I believe it is worth it in terms of what comes with it. So do the needful, and please share the information, the knowledge, the idea you've got here with your other friends that have not made it here, and we shall still compress this video and share it for you to share in your various networks so that we can start right away to work together for a common cause for the Africa that we want. With that said, I will give it back to the host, maybe to help us close the meeting.
Can you hear me? My network seems cracking here.
Yeah, you clear?
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and also thank you so much, Mr. Phip, for the wonderful presentation and taking us through about Mun, and very much grateful for the time you've given us today. And we hope that eventually in the future, our communication keeps on going smoothly as it was today. And with that, we thank you very much, and everyone for attending today's meeting. In case you have questions and everything, you can reach out on the website. There is a link for any information we'd love to hear, and also their contacts on which people to talk to concerning Afro Delegates Foundation. And I think with that, if there is any remarks from the colleagues here, someone can come and say something, or if there is none, we can close the meeting for today. Yes, there's a WhatsApp group, and I believe the recording to this meeting will be shared on the website. Therefore, a link will be provided on WhatsApp to take you where the recording of this meeting will be uploaded. And also, in the next meeting, I'll request all of us attending the